Hi guys, welcome back to the Average Pundits, your home of all things Premier League. We're in a new studio today, a little bit of an impromptu one, but hopefully we can still get you a really good quality Premier League podcast as normal. With me today, as always, is my Average Pundits co-host, Mr. Reese Williams. How you doing, Reese?
How are we doing? I'm alright. Surviving the weekend. It's flu season again, boys.
Yeah, it definitely
it's
is.
definitely not Odeon season, and it's definitely not Liverpool season right now. So I think we should. It'll be a great podcast nonetheless.
Yeah, we got a few interesting things to talk about. First game that we predicted last week was Norwich-Leicester, and a rare win for Norwich over current third place Leicester.
You see, I don't think anyone saw the Norwich win happening here, especially against what was third in the league.
Yeah,
Leicester. Whereas Norwich haven't found a great deal of form at the moment. Jamal Lewis in the 70th minute putting the goal past Kasper Schmeichel, who later on actually got yellow carded. The assist by my actual favourite player in this Norwich side, Max Aarons. I think he's got a very bright future, and I think that Norwich, if they can continue to build on this momentum, I reckon they can maybe escape the drop.
Possibly. I mean, it's if they can keep it up, but I still think Norwich are down, but it was a rare result for them. Leicester dominated that game in terms of shots, but I mean, I think they had 19, but only had 4 on target, which wasn't ideal for them. But not a performance you really put with Leicester at the moment, so hopefully Leicester can pull back and turn it around to keep their momentum up as well. Aston Villa, Sheffield United is currently still postponed. We're still waiting on that one due to Aston Villa and Manchester City in the League Cup final, which we will talk about in a little bit. Brighton and Crystal Palace. This was at Brighton, but Crystal Palace got away with the 1-0 win, Reese.
A rare goal for Jordan Ayew.
Yeah.
Again, 70th minute. Maybe it's something about 70th minute goals. Crystal Palace played. They played decently. I mean, both of us thought this was going to be a draw. It wasn't the most exciting of games. Brighton actually they dominated the play, and they completely peppered the Palace net. It's just Crystal Palace were able to pull one out of the draw. Benteke assisting Jordan Ayew in the 70th minute. Again, Palace, they need to keep building these really scrappy wins in order to keep out of that relegation battle. They're just outside it at the minute, and I think that if they keep it up, then they can carry on and maybe drift up the table a bit more.
At the moment, Brighton are still the only side in 2020 in the Premier League without a win.
That's a mad stat.
That is a mad stat. It's a strange one.
That's the mad stat for the podcast.
And Crystal Palace have won back-to-back Premier Leagues for the first time since December. So, Crystal Palace possibly finding a bit of form again.
Palace started the Premier League really well.
Yeah, they did.
They had a string of games where they were properly in form, and they kind of just dropped off a bit.
Yeah. Again, another interesting result. Bournemouth-Chelsea, away at Bournemouth for Chelsea, and they managed to scrape back a draw for a 2-2 result.
This was probably one of the more exciting games of the weekend, I'd say.
Yeah.
Marcus Alonso scoring a brace to keep Chelsea actually in the game. It was.
And firing again in the 85th, wasn't it? Got the second as well.
Jefferson Lerma and Joshua King firing very, very quickly to try and, they actually took the lead with those. They went 1-0 down via Marcus Alonso and then scoring 2 to make it 2-1. And then Alonso in the 85th minute actually rescuing Chelsea's hopes of grabbing any points from this game.
I think both teams have got to be annoyed for different reasons here. I think Bournemouth had obviously a really good opportunity. They maybe weren't expecting a win, but had a really good opportunity to grab the 3 points. But Chelsea have got to be more disappointed. Right now, the current race for the top 4, which we will build into in a little bit because we do have a very interesting topic today. But the race for the top 4 is currently where we're kind of looking right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like missed opportunities at this level, it's just going to come back to haunt them. And at the moment, Chelsea are really kind of struggling. People are hot on their heels currently, so we'll have to see where Chelsea end up.
The race for the top 4 at the minute, Chelsea are only 3 points above Manchester United, who are really hot on their tails at the minute with their marquee signing Bruno Fernandes. I mean, Wolves as well, they're hot on the tails as well, along with, they've only got a 5-point lead above 2 of the other teams that we're going to talk about in this European spots podcast. And I mean, Chelsea really just need to keep up momentum, and I don't think this game was very good for that.
Newcastle Burnley, a bit more of a dull result. We've got 0-0 here. I mean, in this game, Burnley didn't really seem to turn up looking for any particular result. I think Newcastle were a little bit more kind of in the game, but all in all, this was a pretty poor kind of dire showing from both sides.
It was a game full of yellow cards, like a very scrappy game. A lot of tackles, very very big tackles going in, and it's a typical game from both teams. You don't really see many goals that they can potentially score. So I don't think I expected anything less than what happened. I believe that I predicted this to be a draw. I didn't see this to be any like. I saw some goals, but I didn't see it to be this dreary.
Burnley are actually unbeaten in their last 6 Premier League games now, so this is quite a decent little kind of streak they're on.
That's another mad stat.
Yeah, another mad one. I mean, maybe not always picking up the results, but still unbeaten, so it's something to hold on to. 100%.
100%. Like Dyche is doing a fantastic job there.
He is doing a good job. You've got West Ham beating Southampton 3-1.
Again, they built on the cracks that they showed in Liverpool last week. They scored 2 past us. It was the first time that we've conceded more than 1 goal in the Premier League this season, and they continue to build on that form. Jared Bowen scored a brilliant goal on his was it his debut, or it might have been his debut, or it was definitely his first goal. Haller and Antonio then building on that to basically dig down Southampton. Danny Ings not scoring in Southampton for the second game in a row. It's quite alarming to see that from him. Like maybe slowing down his form, maybe not. It's not ideal when you come into the Euros this year as well.
Yeah,
like he could be on the plane, whereas maybe he's not going to be now if he carries on being slowing his form down.
In the Premier League, that is West Ham's 5th consecutive win against Southampton as a club. So West Ham keeping up their run of good form against the Saints. On to arguably the shock result of the weekend. Definitely a talking point. Watford 3, Liverpool 0, which we both predicted 3-0 the other way.
Yeah. I mean, I just mentioned the cracks that was shown in Liverpool last week. The first time we ever conceded 2 in a game this season. And when it comes to showing the cracks, like it was just a matter of time. And I do put that down to not having Jordan Henderson on the pitch. Like it really did show how much we needed him on the pitch. Like if you think about it, right, Virgil van Dijk is a fantastic leader. However, he cannot cover the entirety of the pitch. Virgil van Dijk is best when he is commanding the entirety of the defence, and then Henderson can be left to relay that message towards the midfield and the attack. He can then control the gameplay. He can see most of the play from the midfield. I think Jordan Henderson is one of the most important people on the pitch, and it showed this game. Like you could tell how much Jordan Henderson was missing in that midfield. Fabinho looked lost in this game, 100%. Gini Wijnaldum looked lost in this game, 100%.
I don't know if you can put it down to just that. I feel like possibly this was always coming. I mean, at the moment, the real question is: are Liverpool going to be really that bothered? They don't really. I mean, they've already got the league. It's a miss they can it's a game they can afford to slip up on, but all credit in this game to I think Ismail Assar on the right. Yeah. What a game he had.
I keep saying like he is one of the most promising players in the Premier League at the moment, and he's finally starting to hit some form, which is why I couldn't be entirely mad about his goals, because he's starting to come into form. Maybe he's going to get picked up by us.
Yeah.
I mean the last players that have played well against us, we picked him up, Minamino. So maybe if Watford go down, we can rescue Ismail Assar and have him come into the Liverpool lineup, maybe as a bench player, or maybe he's going to be touted for big things at Liverpool.
Watford are actually, I think, the first team to beat Liverpool in the Premier League since City back in January 2019.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. Just shows the real strength of this Liverpool side. But fair play to Watford. Someone had to do it, and they came in. They stepped up.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. I didn't expect us to go invincible. Who did? I mean, we were chasing records, and if any Liverpool fans disappointed that we lost this game, I mean, I'm disappointed that we lost to Watford of all teams. But if anyone's disappointed that we didn't go invincible, then stop you complaining, because we've never won the Premier League before. and this is the best form that Liverpool have ever been in. You can't really ever, complain about this.
Yeah, I feel like it's something which at the moment Liverpool fans maybe don't need to be too up in arms about. I mean, like we said, they've got the league, they've already got that in the bag, so it's something that we just need to kind of keep our heads screwed on about. I mean, it can't just be Watford. Maybe other results are going to come. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see.
Hopefully, I mean, I can still see us going on and lifting the trophy. It's just whether we can continue.
Manchester City Arsenal was the other postponed game this week, obviously due to the League Cup final, which we will briefly mention just at the end. Everton Manchester United, away at Everton for United, and it was a 1-1 draw.
Oh, David De Gea. Oh, David.
Yeah.
What do we say about this goal?
It was extremely poor. Both keepers. I think Jordan Henderson got a lot of stick for that with his goal, but I don't think Jordan Pickford.
Jordan Pickford.
Pickford.
I
don't think Pickford necessarily had the worst of games. I think De Gea's was a terrible mistake, but then he went on to have a lot of good saves afterwards, as did Pickford. Obviously, the ball, plenty of time on the ball, shoots the ball towards Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin just rebounds straight into the net. Genuinely, my heart absolutely sank because I was just thinking, oh my God, like this isn't even, you couldn't even make that up. Like, what a strange goal. I mean, Calvert-Lewin, the man in form as well. He's having a phenomenal season, he is. I think people are going to be looking at him.
Since Ancelotti came in, Calvert-Lewin's had a new lease of life. I think I've said this on many occasions. He's breathing life into this Everton team that's severely needed it ever since Marcus Silva was in charge, and they needed a new manager to come in and give them a new lease of life. And it's players like him, it's players like Richarlison and Bernard that have really
kind of a bit of a refresher.
Benefited from the experience and the prowess of Ancelotti, and it really shows. And it's a testament to his managerial experience and his tactics.
The three other main talking points for this game: Bruno Fernandes coming in the 31st minute to score his first goal from open play for United, outside the box, really well taken goal. I mean, again, another
Pickford could have saved it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But his short dinosaur arms couldn't really do much.
He maybe could, but I still think it was just a good goal. I honestly, I think he doesn't maybe. He gets a lot of stick. I think in that game maybe he got a little bit more than he needed.
It was a very well placed shot. To be fair, I do think that Bruno Fernandes is Manchester United's best signing in quite some time.
It's seeming that way currently. I mean, he's in very good form. He's got to hope he keeps it up.
He's Man United's Player of the Month.
Yeah.
So it just shows how big of an impact he's had on this United team and how much he's that Solskjaer has seen in him. Like he knows now that he has to sell Jesse Lingard and Andres Pereira, which I mean I can't wait to see Jesse Lingard playing in China in a couple of years. At least I want to be able to see his face.
Definitely a man with an agenda there. Definitely a man with an agenda. And the final point of that game to mention, obviously, was Everton's disallowed goal to some controversy. If you're not familiar, what happened at the end of the game, Calvert-Lewin struck the ball, came off Maguire and rebounded into the net. Last literal minute of the game, Everton celebrating like crazy, thought they'd won it. Again, my heart sank.
Yeah.
Goes to VAR and Gylfi Sigurdsson was in an offside position, but the ball didn't actually come off him. But the questioning was he blocking the sight of De Gea? It was one which is definitely, again, torn fans. I think it's another lucky VAR call for United. I think it was an extremely... I do think it could have gone either way, depending on how the rest looked at it. But it is what it is. We've snuck away with a point.
Varchester United.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Like,
but
live VAR, Paul. My backside.
We snuck away with a point. I feel like Everton may feel they were robbed at the end. Obviously, Ancelotti going onto the pitch in the last few minutes and complaining, and he did get a red card after the game. So a touchline ban for Mr. Cool incoming.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, he's going to have to stay in the stands for the next game. And I mean, they're going to face Chelsea, and that's going to be a big miss for Ancelotti going back to his old team.
And not being able to kind of be on the sidelines. Yeah. It'll be an interesting little result to see if they can pick it up without him watching on. And then on to arguably game of the week, Excuse me. Game of the weekend, we've got Wolves versus Tottenham 3-2, which we both predicted Wolves wins for here.
We did. I mean, I don't see Mourinho beating this side whatsoever. Wolves are by far my favourite team. I tweeted the other day that no one can argue with me that Adama isn't the best player to watch, the most entertaining player to watch in the Premier League right now. Oh, come off it.
No, he's interesting, but he's been a good little addition to Wolves. But I feel like Jota and Jimenez are still, in my opinion, their best players. I think Adama's maybe.
Adama's just fun to watch because, if you saw him, the setup to one of the goals in this game, he was able to stay on his feet. He ran like a panther.
Yeah.
He got knocked down, sort of knocked down, lost his balance, went on his hands and knees, was able to carry on dribbling the ball. And the way that he runs with the ball, he's just so elegant, and he runs like a gazelle. It's brilliant. He is so quick, and I think that he's one of the he's just so fun to watch.
You had Steven Bergwijn getting his second goal for Tottenham, and then a very well taken rare goal from Serge Aurier in the 45th minute. But goals from Doherty, Jota, and Jimenez saw Tottenham just make sure they didn't get the full result there. Again, there's quite a few yellow cards going around towards the game. A lot of the Tottenham midfield kind of picking up yellows. But I mean, all in all, Tottenham have got to be disappointed with this. Another big opportunity. But I mean, Wolves, like we said last week, they love a top six result. They love a top six game.
Kieran was very close to getting this right on the nose, and we were going to have to play the audio of him getting that completely correct, as I said last week. But
he was a goal off. I think he said 3-1, and it's 3-2.
Yeah, I mean you were 2 goals off.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought Wolves were going to win by a small margin, but with those games out the way, we didn't predict that very well.
No,
the slightest.
It wasn't one of the strongest weeks, but what are the points currently at the moment?
So I am currently on 64 after getting 2 predictions right, and you got 1 correct, so you're on 69.
So I'm
nice.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Nice.
Not too bad. But I think we're in a decent little position. It's definitely hotting up.
Indeed.
On to the hype train.
Indeed, it's time for this episode's version of the hype train, and
I did have a couple of interesting inclusions this week. Obviously, as always, if you do want to get in contact with us, you can get a hold of us via our Instagram. You can get a hold of us via our business email on Twitter, but we always tend to put a little Instagram before we record. Yeah. And thank you for your additions that we've got this week. I think the first one we had was Everton's. Wasn't it Morgan Schneidlin we had from Everton? I believe.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really interesting inclusion.
I think he's poor. Not gonna lie.
I feel like he has had such a strange build in his Premier League kind of career. He's had a weird one. Obviously part of a Southampton team which spawned a lot of really good players, all dotting off around the world, or dotting off around the Premier League. And then obviously Manchester United signed him. I think he had a decent run at United. I don't think it was brilliant. You could tell maybe he wasn't going to stick around for too long. But I feel like Everton was a good move for him, and it was a real chance to kind of show a resurgence. But he's not a prominent player for them, is he? He doesn't really.
Does he get on the pitch?
not too often.
Did he play against Manchester United?
I don't believe he was,
because I don't rate Morgan Schneidlin whatsoever. I think that we're gonna have to put him in the poor category, if I'm honest.
I think if I was going to put him anywhere currently, I think he would go in poor for me. I mean, he wasn't even on the subs bench for this. I think he may have picked up a little knock at the moment. He may be injured, but
I can't see him anywhere near an average position. I do think that Schneidlin's in the poor category.
We're gonna agree with that one today.
And for our next one, we have a. I mean, it might be pretty obvious where this guy's going. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
You say obvious. I think this is going to be this is going to divide some heads here.
It's a toss-up between 2 different ones, I think, because without a shadow of a doubt, he's the star player of Arsenal.
100%. 100%. But I mean, it's just if you knock him up into that next tier.
With Barcelona knocking on his door, there's no doubt in my mind that he's a world-class player.
I don't know.
Barcelona are they at the moment they're quite what's the word?
I mean, they're not really kind of at their full kind of level at the moment. They just lost 2-0 in the El Clasico to Real Madrid, and they were pretty much they weren't even really present in that game. I think Real Madrid walked it, but I think when you do come knocking for a big player,
Yeah.
they're only going to go for the big names. And I think Aubameyang's been a really good inclusion to the Premier League. At Borussia Dortmund, he was awesome.
Yeah, he's really quick. He's so tall, strong. He can finish as well. He's basically the complete striker, and I think that he would be a great fit for Barcelona.
Yeah,
Not that just the fact that he's a very commanding player. He knows where to position himself for every single time he gets the ball, and it's quite a testament to how he plays his game.
yeah.
Where we put him, I mean, it's definite that we put him in a star player position. However, do we knock him up to the world class player? Do we chance it with that and then rejig it when we get a chance? Or
I think we kind of have to. I think a credit to what he's achieved so far in his career. I think we're going to put him in world class for this one.
Yeah. So today's hype train include inductees are Morgan Schneidlin, who goes into the poor category, and who was it that we started off? It was Zuma. Zuma and Kolasinac have now got loads of friends after the past couple episodes, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to be put into the world-class carriage. So please do submit your inclusions. Message us on Instagram, The Average Pundits. We can put out tweets, and please respond to those with your players for this week's for next week's Hype Train inclusions. And yeah, we can
Progress forward.
Yeah, we'll progress forward and give you a shout out in the process, maybe.
Well, we've got a really interesting topic today. You remember we recently did our relegation candidate episode, and we went through all of the main clubs that were currently in that predicament and seeing where we think they were going to end up. So we thought on the flip side of the table, with the league pretty much being confirmed by Liverpool, pretty much just about.
If we don't slip up, that is.
I mean, it would have to be an incredible slip up, but I mean, I'm all here for it. If they want to do it, I'm ready.
Man City have a game in hand, so it's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, they can take it within 20.
But there we go. So we are going to look on the flip side at the European slots. So currently we are looking at the top, pretty much I would say at the moment, Leicester down. I think Man City are pretty much confidently confirmed.
Yeah.
Their position.
They've got a commanding 7-point lead, and if they can, who they got? Their next game?
Man City, for their next game at the moment, I believe they are playing Manchester United.
Of course.
In the derby.
So I think that Manchester City might have a 3-point there, which will take them 10 points above Leicester City. And I think that Manchester City have most definitely got a second place there with Leicester. I mean, Leicester City, them getting Champions League is phenomenal.
I think it's definitely what that they need to be aspiring for. So same with Wolves, exactly the same with Wolves. But right now, the third position Leicester and eighth position Sheffield, there is a difference of 10 points between the two clubs. But amongst those two right now, I think between those two positions is where we're currently facing.
Yeah.
So going from the bottom up, if we look at Sheffield right now, they currently sit in 8th in the Premier League after an absolutely amazing season so far. They've been a great inclusion. We've said it countless times, absolutely countless times. And at the moment, they are currently out there 27 matches played, 10 wins, 7 losses, and the rest equating to draws. They've been such a good inclusion.
Yeah, I think that what Wall has done with the squad and how he's managed to gel the team together, it's phenomenal. The way that they play, it's nothing exciting. It's basically putting the basics back into football. And this Sheffield side have been able to do something that not all promoted teams can do. I mean, Wolves kind of did it last year, but not to the extent that Sheffield United have done. And it's quite a testament to the players on the pitch and the signings that they've made in the summer. It's quite incredible to see Sheffield United this high. Whether they get to a European competition next year, it's tough to see that maybe.
I think it would be very impressive. I mean, currently sitting with 40 points. Right now, sitting above them, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail in a minute, is Tottenham also on 40. And then you've got Wolves and Man United on 42.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, all of these four teams can just be one result away from going ahead of each other. I mean, that's how scrappy the Premier League can get sometimes.
It's very close at the minute. Like you've got a 5-point gap between 8th and 4th. I mean, no one's. I doubt anyone's going to catch Leicester. I think the top 3 are set. Maybe.
Yeah. With Manchester City's 2-year ban from the Champions League incoming,
Of course,
which is an interesting little point. So the top 4 is technically going to be the top 5 this season.
Yeah, if Manchester United finish 5th, like they are in the minute, does that mean they have to qualify for Champions League?
It means they'll get the Champions League.
So if Sheffield United do finish,
if they manage to finish, it'll be 7th.
They will be. Yeah, they will be in the European competition. They'll be in the Europa League
if they finish 7th.
I thought it was 8th, because 5th will automatically become 6th, and then 7th will become 8th, and then so Sheffield United will technically finish 7th in correlation to finishing for European competitions with Manchester City's 2-year ban.
That is a good point. So I mean, they are very, very potentially close to securing European football.
I mean, Sheffield United and Burnley at this point. I mean, they're only 2 points off
even
Sheffield
Burnley.
United. So it's very close in that mid-table bit.
Yeah,
but I think Sheffield United are more are way ahead of Burnley when it comes. I mean,
Arsenal and Everton are sitting even lower with 37, and I think it's Arsenal are very difficult to write out just because they're Arsenal, so they always have that ability to have a resurgence. But it's been such a problematic season for the Gunners that I feel like it's going to be hard for them to potentially progress. So right now, you'd put Sheffield potentially in more of a favoured position.
Yeah, I mean, the form of teams like Burnley and Arsenal, they haven't lost in the past 5 games, whereas Sheffield United have actually come out on the losing end in one of these occasions.
Yeah.
Do Sheffield have that mentality to keep up and go? Like, they have less losses than Tottenham.
Yeah.
At this rate, but they just keep drawing. I mean, is it a case of less draws and more wins? Like, can this team turn their draws into wins, and that will be a tester when they come out at the end of the season. I mean, we only have 10 games remaining in the Premier League.
There's really not much left.
It's very scary to see that we've got 10 episodes left until the end of the season, and we look at the teams, Burnley and Sheffield United. Which one of those is more likely to come out with more points? I think you look no further than Sheffield United, and would they look wrong and would they look strange inside a European competition? Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's a testament to them, the organisation, the manager, the players on the pitch.
They've just had it's been a great story, and I think it'll be a nice little reward. But sometimes getting European qualification straight from promotion, I believe isn't that what Southampton did? A while ago when they got promoted and came up to the Europa League, or was it maybe the season after? I mean, I know maybe. They had it very.
They did have it relatively quick after they got promoted, and it was phenomenal, like what they did. And I think we do see a resemblance in the Sheffield side that we did see in that Southampton side, and what a side it is. I mean, I don't see them making a very lengthy run in the Europa League if they do make it. Maybe Arsenal do clamber back and replace Sheffield United in that spot, but Sheffield United, if they do end up going to the Europa League, I don't see them having a lengthy run. Maybe not even at the group stage.
Yeah.
Say if they get matched with a Braga or a Schalke, so some mid-tier Bundesliga or a European side, that I don't think that they'll
necessarily fare too well for that.
No.
Going up to 7th, you have Tottenham also at 40 points. Again, another weird season for Tottenham, obviously parting ways with Maurizio Pochettino early on in the season, bringing Jose Mourinho in, which is always a big kind of status symbol when you bring in a manager of his calibre.
Yeah.
And then I feel like straight away, when you get Jose in, you have a couple of honeymoon period games, don't you? And you have some really good results, which is always good to see. But after a while, I think the level of what Mourinho's job is at Tottenham is setting in. They've got some absolutely brilliant players, and they've made some really good signings.
Yeah.
I mean, in January, obviously bringing in Bergwijn was an absolutely phenomenal bit of business, in my opinion. He is a really good player, but right now, I feel like Tottenham aren't going to be fully ready to compete again until a good transfer window.
Yeah,
And obviously, a transfer window with Tottenham is always a bit of a dicey one because you've obviously got Levy at the helm, who stereotypically doesn't really like spending too much money.
yeah.
But you never know. Maybe you might break the trend with Mourinho at the helm.
Maybe. I think Mourinho might be one of those managers that demands money. I mean, he's been at Chelsea where Abramovich was, just gifting him money for fun.
Yeah.
And Tottenham aren't a club to do that. However, with the right man in charge, I think they could. Like, I mean, they signed Sergi Bergwijn, and yeah, it's a strange one for Spurs because they're used to being in Champions League positions for the past couple of years, and for them to be now in a European spot that's not the Champions League, they're in the Europa League battle. They can push on with. I do think you're correct. You do actually see them having a spot in Europe next year with the Champions no, with the Europa League. Sorry,
I think Tottenham they're going to get some kind of European football. I mean, it would be a shame for them not to, but sometimes going down into the Europa League necessarily isn't the worst thing. Obviously, status wise,
No.
it's not the best.
And winning the Europa League, doesn't that guarantee you?
It guarantees you.
A pass into the Champions League, and maybe this is what Spurs need. Spurs need a 2-year rebuild, go into the Europa League, build up your team, win the Europa League to go into the Champions League, and build a squad up until you reach that point.
Well, what is interesting, obviously, currently we have 2 English clubs still in the Europa League.
Oh yeah.
If one of those clubs win, they get
team.
an automatic Champions League slot, which means another Premier League club goes up to the Champions League, which could mean a 6th place Premier League side in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Which would be absolutely ridiculous. That could be Wolves. That could be Tottenham.
Which would be our next team, Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
Which I would think that's you know what, I can't, like, there's a lot of teams that I would really love to see in this spot, and Wolves is a fantastic club to be there. Like,
they would be awesome to watch in the Champions League, and I feel like the Molineux's such a good atmosphere on game nights. I feel like they'd be able to put on a really good show for the Champions League.
It shows at the minute, like Thursday nights in Wolves, and I saw a mini documentary of like them going to see Wolves' away game as well. Again, it was Espanyol.
Yeah, well, it was a really good win they had at home. They had the 4-0, and then they had a 3-2 loss, but they won on the tie.
And at the Molineux in the night time, I think they would really adapt to the Champions League well.
Yeah.
And I think that if they were to get Champions League football with their Portuguese ties and their super agents, what players could they get? That is a phenomenal...
Be a scary thought, wouldn't it?
It's a win for Wolves, and who could they get? Like, they could get a world-class centre-back.
They're like Champions League football away from potentially becoming like a super club.
I think they are 100%. They could be like within the next 5 years a Premier League champion. 100%. I don't see anything otherwise.
I wouldn't necessarily deny it either. I feel like if they go in the right direction, it's all to play for.
They have a young core of players. Ruben Neves isn't going anywhere. Let's face it. Ruben Neves is one of the best centre midfielders in the Premier League, and with the old experience of Moutinho helping him develop his career, I think if we see him progress for to the Champions League, I mean, he was captaining Porto in the Champions League, and now he's being, I mean, he might captain Wolves into the Champions League again. Like, he's taken this club from the Championship, got them promoted, grinded out a season, and now to get to the Champions League this season would be phenomenal. That would be amazing to see that story of Ruben Neves going from Champions League to Championship back to the top of the mountain.
I mean, Arsenal obviously were the other English club in the Europa League, which got knocked out in an emphatic way by Olympiacos, which left a lot of unhappy Arsenal players, a lot of questions being asked around the club. Again, adding to Arsenal's kind of current turmoil.
A lot of unhappy Arsenal fans as well.
Arsenal need a season away from European football. I think they've got such a big rebuild, and it's not going to be good for the Arsenal fans, but they need a season away from it. Yeah. But Wolves face Olympiacos in the next round, which is a team who knocked out Arsenal. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to keep their eye on.
The English knockout giants. I assume that they're going to take on that moniker, but I mean, how are you going to cope with that front three? I mean, although Adama Traore did go off with an injury against Spurs, so whether he's fit for that game, who knows? But Jota and Jimenez are well up for the task of doing it on their own, and Pedro Neto.
Yeah,
He's a class player,
he's
and
looking good,
he can only grow as well. Like
Daniel Pundits, I feel like he was an interesting signing.
yeah,
Didn't he? I think I'm not making this wrong, but he might have actually played for Olympiacos at one point. I'm pretty sure he did.
I can't recall off the top of the brain. However, with research, I'm guessing that he might have done. Which I mean, what a return to the club that would be, to face your old club in the Europa League that knocked out Arsenal. It would be a phenomenal thing to see.
Yeah, it was Olympiacos he was at just before Wolves.
Wow,
So an interesting little return for him.
is he able to play? That's the thing. Like,
He could be tied, couldn't he?
He could be tied, yeah, because he might have played for Olympiacos in the Europa League already this season.
I'm not massively sure of that one, but it could be an interesting little return for him if he is available. Moving on, just above is sitting in 5th place currently, I believe. You've got Manchester United. Currently, I feel like the quality of football's kind of improved a little bit for United.
Yeah.
What do you think, Reece?
I mean, with the signing of Bruno Fernandes, you sort of see that. As I said earlier, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has finally seen the light, and he wants to offload Jesse Lingard and Andreas Pereira.
I need to interrupt there. I mean, that you're just making that up.
What?
Yeah, you are.
No.
Where have you heard this?
I mean, I'm just saying that, like, because he's seen.
He hasn't seen anything. We don't know this. You're making that up.
Right, there's clear class between Bruno Fernandes and these
Doesn't mean
absolute
anything.
abysmal centre midfielders that Manchester United have. I just want to see Jesse Lingard gone, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
I
but
just
at
want
the
to see
same
Jesse
time,
Lingard out of my eyesight.
we cannot be putting words in his mouth. Genuinely, right now, it's looking like currently right now there are two players, albeit Jesse Lingard and Pereira, I would probably have them leave the club.
I'd kick them out instantly.
But I mean, right now, but what Ollie wants to admit, we have no idea. But at the moment, out of United's 28 games in the Prem, only 11 of those have been wins. 8 of those have been losses, and the rest have made up draws.
That's
we've
only
had
one more than Sheffield United in wins.
Yeah.
That's crazy to see.
It's not been the ideal season. I mean, obviously we're having these little pockets of resurgences every now and again. Bruno Fernandes has been a phenomenal induction into the Premier League. I feel like he's going to be a really good player to watch in times to come. A 5-0 win against Bruges on the second leg after the 1-1 draw saw us go through to the knockout stages, and I think we're playing. Is it LASK? We're playing LASK in Austria.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah, I think they're just one of the top Austrian clubs, but I think that's where United are heading next.
Is Austrian? Is that where Salzburg are from as well?
It is indeed.
I don't see them beating United, if I'm honest. Like,
I think we'll probably walk into the quarters of this one. There'll be a lot more interesting players in the Europa League, but I mean the real question is for United is, in my opinion, is are we ready to go back to the Champions League? I would love to see us with Champions League football. But I want to make sure that when we return, that we actually return with a bit of fight in us, and we're still able to compete in the Prem.
I reckon that if you do get Champions League football, then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have a transfer window where where people see, oh, Bruno Fernandes is at Manchester United. They have Champions League football. I want to go there because there is a clear, forward-thinking club.
If we get it, I think Jadon Sancho is the first player to come to United. I think right now, all of the headlines are currently linking him as the number one. Well, United as the number one destination.
Really?
Currently,
Chelsea.
I thought Chelsea would be more keen for him. I think Chelsea the clubs are still going to come in sniffing for him. But right now, there's rumoured $200,000 a week fees, which sounds about right for a player of his calibre.
Yeah.
I feel like he would. I think a good return to the Premier League for him is going to happen. But I feel like he's only going to come back if he's going to get Champions League football as well. He has the right to want that.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, with Manchester United still being in the Europa League, I think Manchester United are the favourites to win the Europa League at the minute. And it pains me to say that, but I do think that Manchester United are going to win the Europa League. And if they can get back into the Champions League, they do have that transfer window to get in the likes of Jadon Sancho, maybe another wing back of some sorts, like another left back, a right back. Oh, actually, no, you got Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
We got Bissaka and Delo.
You got Wan-Bissaka. I mean, your left back's position's pretty weak. Maybe another central midfielder. I mean, Fred's good, but in small doses, I think.
I feel like it's going to be a window of backups and a couple of stars as well.
I think you transition Fred into that backup, and if Pogba's happy to stay, put him back in the
he's
squad.
gone. Pogba's gone.
If Pogba's gone, then you sell him, get in another world-class winger and another world-class centre midfielder.
Pogba goes out for 150. We signed Sancho for 100, and I think we have another defensive-minded midfielder.
I'm not sure you get 150 for Pogba, especially if he's unhappy with the club.
It's 150, mate. 100%. The club will not let him leave for any less.
Really?
We're gonna want a profit. We're gonna want a profit off him.
I reckon you get like 120 million maximum. I think that's what maximum you get for him. Like
there's only, in my opinion, there's only 2 clubs in the running for him. It just depends if Real Madrid are gonna splash the money to get another Galactico midfielder, or if they're gonna he's just gonna take the return to Juventus. Because I feel like goes to Real Madrid, he becomes one of the marquee people there, or he goes to Juventus, becomes one of the marquee people, and gets to play at his old club with Ronaldo.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, he'll probably get heroes welcome back like he did for Manchester United. Apart from hopefully this time he won't throw a strop. But yeah, Manchester United are a very interesting club, and it's clear to see why. I mean, they're in a strong spot with the Europa League, and they can easily get into the top 4 and get into the Champions League, which could then open up the spots for Burnley, I guess, to get into the Europa League. But moving on to the next club.
Yeah, currently 3 points ahead of United. United and Wolves both with 42 points, and Chelsea with 45. Frank Lampard's Chelsea again, another dicey season that they've had. It's been very kind of bit of a strange one. Out of the 28 matches played, 13 wins and 9 losses, and the rest are quite into draws there. So that's been a bit of a whirlwind one for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Lampard's come in and he's administered a sort of philosophy about him with his team, and they've had the transfer ban, which has been quite. It's been hard for Chelsea to not sign players, but they've coped very, very well with it. Like the players have gelled really well. The players that they have brought back from teams like Villa and Derby have gelled well, and it's clear to see why Frank Lampard trusts them. Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham have had fantastic seasons. Obviously, Tammy Abraham is now injured, but I feel like a Champions League qualification tournament thing is going to be where it's at for Chelsea this year.
I think they probably will end up with Champions League football. I don't necessarily think, unless they have a big summer, they're going to fare particularly well. I think at times Chelsea have looked a bit lacking this season. Like they've had good results, and all of a sudden it's been a bit like maybe there's a couple of things that they could be dealing with. Really, there's a couple of things which could take them to the next level. So I think a good Premier League signing, 1 or 2 marquee players, a couple of backups, that, and maybe offloading some of the dead weight they've got.
Yeah, I was going to say the problem with Chelsea is they've got a lot of aging players like Willian and Pedro are players that are actually, they're getting on a bit.
Yeah,
and I think that if they want to improve, they need to invest in the future a bit more.
I would 100% agree with that. They've got so many good young players coming up through, but without any particular guidance, I feel like they need some big names.
I feel like they need another defender. Cesar Azpilicueta is not getting any younger. I think they did a great thing by bringing in Christian Pulisic, although that was quite a weird way of getting round the transfer ban.
It was a strange one. I mean, obviously, Hazard leaving was always going to be impactful. It was always going to happen. It was just when, and I think it was always going to be to Madrid. But I think they haven't necessarily directly missed him. I think he's a phenomenal player, obviously, but they've had some really good results, and they're still fighting high in the Premier League. I feel like potentially Leicester being their only real blockade, I mean, they're always going to finish fairly high.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how Chelsea fare. I think Chelsea are definitely going to be a Champions League team next season, but I feel like without a big transfer window, they maybe won't fare too well.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Champions League teams, I say we go on to Leicester, who have pretty much guaranteed themselves unless they do have a pretty big down spiral, I guess. What a season they're having! Like, who would have predicted this at the beginning? I certainly didn't. From their Premier League games, they've won 15. They've lost the same amount as Manchester United. Actually, I'm guessing they've just been able to draw the rest. But winning 15 games is quite a tricky task especially for a club like Leicester, who have actually offloaded players like Riyad Mahrez and Harry Maguire. They've actually played well without those players. And
Riyad Mahrez left the club a while back. I mean, Maguire 100%.
Yeah,
in terms of recent times, but they've had a lot of players since their Champions League win leaving the club.
Yeah, from their Premier League winning side, they've had Riyad Mahrez and
Kante, Maguire.
Kante and Maguire. all leaving, and now they've gone. Maybe even like I think this is their best points tally in the Premier League so far at this stage, which is again, it's a testament to them. I think.
I mean, it is. I mean, one thing to mention. I mean, the last 5 results in and out of the Premier League have all been lost. Have been losses. There's been one draw in there with Wolves, but they haven't had a win in the last 5 games. I mean,
Wow.
which I think is quite an interesting one. Obviously, they lost the semi-final of the League Cup, and then draws with also 2 draws rather. The draws with Chelsea and Wolves, and then losses to City and Norwich. I feel like it's a little bit of a confidence knock. I feel like they maybe have to climb a little bit more.
Yeah, the last 4 games haven't been the best. 2 draws, 2 losses, but then they did have that 4-1 win against West Ham United.
They did,
which was a decent game for them, and I think they just sort of went off at that point. Like their next game against Chelsea, they are always going to have a hard task, and Wolves are like we say, Wolves love a top 6 battle, and they are really pushing for that to get into them European spots. And I mean, Leicester, I don't think anyone's going to challenge their 3rd position. Maybe Chelsea do push on and get 3rd.
I don't know. I mean, I still think Leicester are potentially risking dropping down. I mean, their next game is a return against Villa. Obviously, they'll probably be looking to get the win there after losing last time. But their last few games in the Premier League, I mean, Arsenal and Tottenham and United could cause a few problems, but I think they go into being the favourites in most of their other games.
Yeah.
I want to see Leicester in the Champions League.
It'd be fun to see Leicester in the Champions League again.
I feel like Chelsea, though, they're going to need signings. They're going to need signings because, again, they've had a Champions League experience once and they had a really good run. They think they got to round of 16, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
But it's another thing. We want to see them performing well in the Premier League as well as Europe. So I feel like reinforcements are always going to be looked at in this predicament.
The only problem with Leicester is that they don't have the brand and marketability of a club like Chelsea, Manchester United. Hence why Bruno Fernandes chose Manchester United over a team like Leicester City.
Will Leicester City ever in for him?
Well, no. This is what I obviously they weren't, but like if they were to be in for him, he would have chosen Manchester United over them because of the.
I get what you're trying to say with status symbols and stuff.
I mean, again they don't like they lack the business. They lack the. I mean, the city isn't the best. It's the East Midlands. No one really wants to come here. Into Midlands, let's be honest.
Harsh.
I mean, you live in the Midlands for so long, you start to get bored of it. But I mean, Leicester City aren't quite the calibre that the big teams are, and for them to, I mean, they could draw in a world class player. I mean, they got Yuri Tillemans, who's one of the most promising young players in the Premier League at the moment.
I feel like like we said, it's going to be an interesting thing to see if they are going to fare well in the Champions League. I feel like they're definitely going to be in the European slot. They've got to keep momentum up. If they don't keep momentum up, they're at serious risk.
Yeah.
But it's all to see currently. I mean, we'd be really interested to see what you guys are currently feeling about the European slots with Europa League and Champions League.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, especially with certain clubs that are teetering just outside of the Europa League, outside the Champions League, sometimes missing out on European football can be a bit of a blessing in disguise, a bit of a rebuild period for clubs like Arsenal. Mm. It's all to play for. Guys, get in contact with us via Instagram. Get in contact with us via Twitter. Our Instagram's The Average Pundits. On Twitter, it's Pundits Average. You can get with us our business email as well, which is theaveragepundits@outlook.com. And just let us know what you think, guys, because it's all your opinions are really valuable. If you have anything to bring up on it, please come on the podcast. Give us a little debate. We'd love to have you on.
Indeed. Absolutely.
But lastly, moving on to our Premier League predictions for the upcoming week.
So we have Saturday's first game. Liverpool versus Bournemouth.
Liverpool are going to come out with a vengeance for this game. They're going to be slightly humiliated. They haven't been on form in a lot of their last results. Obviously, they picked up a loss against Atletico and stuff. So picked up the loss against Watford. They're going to want to come out with a vengeance. Yeah. I'm going to say this is going to be a 2-0 Liverpool win.
Yeah, I can't help agree there. 2-0 to Liverpool is where I'm going to be at. It was very disappointing to see our last resort, and if we come out with another result like that, I'm going to start losing faith in this Liverpool side.
We can't have that. We can't have that. Can't have Reece losing the faith.
Gotta. No, I'm not going to start singing. It's not a time for singing.
Wolves Brighton. This is at Wolves. Saturday's 3:00 kickoff. I feel like Wolves. Again, they have this really bad habit. They love a top 6 result and then sometimes flunk it to lower sided clubs. Obviously, like we said earlier, Brighton are currently the only side in the Premier League not to have a win in 2020.
I think they're going to carry that on.
I think they're going to carry on. I think Wolves are going to get the win, but I think it's going to be 2-1.
I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1 Wolves?
Yeah, just based on the fact that I think Jimenez is in form, Jota's well in form, and it's hard to see anyone knocking Wolves off the perch that they have at the minute.
Yeah. What about Arsenal-West Ham? This is at the Emirates, but West Ham coming off the back of a 3-1 win. Arsenal coming off the back of some shaky form.
I'm going to say 2-1 to West Ham. And it's, West Ham, but travelling to London, as we said in the last
travelling
podcast. To London. West Ham have I think they're in great form. They were the first team to, as I keep repeating, they were the first team to show cracks in this Liverpool side. And score 2 goals against us, which was phenomenal for them. And Arsenal, I don't see being the team to take West Ham down at the minute. They're in a battle, and I think that West Ham are the team to. I mean, they're going to carry on rising. 2-1 to West Ham. 2-1
to West Ham. I'm going to put a 1-1 draw on this one. I feel like Arsenal are gonna struggle. You know, an informed team against a Premier League dynamo is going to cancel each other out. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Southampton, Newcastle. This could be a little bit more interesting.
I don't see it. I mean, I said this last week. I don't see it being that entertaining. I do have Newcastle down for a 1-0 win, like a very, very Stephen Cook. No, it's not Stephen Cook. I don't know. Some centre back.
Some centre back.
Some centre back. I
don't know who Stephen Cook is.
Huh?
Who's Stephen Cook?
He plays for. Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, isn't
he? He plays for Bournemouth, but. Yes. I don't know. Stephen Clark, that's what I mean.
Stephen Clark. I think.
Do you mean
right. Kieran Clark?
Mate, I'm having a mare. I stayed up too late doing my assignment last night.
Southampton, Newcastle. I'm going to put 2-1 to Southampton on there. I think 2-1. Southampton are going to get the result. Sheffield, Norwich, the Premier League promotion candidates from last season.
I feel like Sheffield United are going to edge it. Just based on their form, they don't really pull out huge wins very often, and Norwich aren't going to win anytime soon. I don't think. I've
got 1-0 on this to Sheffield.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a 1-0.
Crystal Palace, Watford. This is going to be a harder game to predict. Crystal Palace are at home. Watford coming off the back of a ridiculous win. Can they carry on the form? Obviously, Delafeu went off injured in that game.
They played better without him. They started off very well with him, and they just carried on that form without him. And I think it's a testament to the rest of the Watford players that when they do try, they can win. And I think that it's going to be 1-1, Crystal Palace 1, Watford 1.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was trying to disprove that, but I think I'm going to agree with you on that one there. Burnley, Tottenham at Burnley. That's going to be hard for Spurs.
Definitely hard for Spurs, especially coming off a loss to Wolves. I don't think that they're actually going to be very challenging to Burnley, if I'm honest. They're going to be very hard to break down.
0-0.
Yeah,
I'm going to call it.
I think I also have 0-0 down. It's hard not to say.
I think that's going to be a tough one. I think that's one that I can feel coming back to disprove me, but I feel 0-0 is an interesting little one to predict for that. Chelsea, Everton.
I feel like Chelsea have something to prove.
Everton are in good form, though. Arguably should have beat United.
They should have. However, I think that Chelsea have something to prove after the draw to Bournemouth. They want to come out strong. And I think that Chelsea are going to win 2-1.
I'm putting 2-2 on this one.
2-2's now.
2-2's now. I think Calvert-Lewin and I think Richarlison are going to be in the firing for this one again. Manchester United, Man City. Obviously, Man City and Aston Villa's games both postponed last week, so they've both got a game in hand to play. Thanks to Man City winning the League Cup, first trophy of this season, going to Manchester City in a 2-1 win. Now coming to Old Trafford to try and overthrow United, who are on an unbeaten run in the Premier League at the moment.
I mean, it's going to be a tough game for Manchester United, 100%. I mean, Manchester City coming off the League Cup. Um, I think Manchester City are going to have this in the bag pretty much. I reckon Manchester United will have a goal. I see Manchester United scoring. Maybe it'll be a Bruno goal. Probably, to be honest, I don't see any of Manchester United goals coming any other way. Especially Odi and Ighalo. If Odi and Ighalo scores, I will dump a bucket of water over my head.
It's Odeon season, mate. It's Odeon season.
So I'm going to go for Manchester City 3, Manchester United 1.
We've got an away trip to Derby before that on the 5th.
Oh, I thought you were going on to the next game. I was like,
No,
whoa.
no. We've got an away trip to Derby before that. I feel like we get a little result there. It could give us a bit more momentum. I'm going to have to back the boys 2-1 Manchester United at home.
2-1.
I'm going to back the boys.
That comes after a game against Wayne Rooney.
It does, which will be an interesting little hero's return for
maybe not a hero's return. Rooney bicycle kick to send Manchester United out of the League Cup. Oh no, out of the FA Cup. Sorry,
mate. If Rooney gets a goal, I think that whole stadium will be applauding him.
Yeah, I reckon so. Especially an overhead kick, that'd be class.
The final game, a Midlands battle, Leicester City versus Aston Villa. That'll be a good little watch. But
and as I say, no one wants to come to the Midlands, so I think Leicester's got this in the bag. I'm going to say it's going to be pretty close though. 3-2.
3-2. I'm going to put 2-0 Leicester down. I think Villa are going to struggle in that game. I think Leicester, like we said, they're another club which has something to prove. So I think Leicester may just edge it.
Yep.
But guys, that is your Premier League result breakdown from myself and Reese. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We've been, like we said, we had a little makeshift studio today. Hopefully it's all going to plan. Hopefully it's all going out okay. If you guys have enjoyed this, please get in contact with us. Like and share the video. Subscribe to our YouTube. Every little bit really helps us out.
Yes.
And always get involved. You can get us on Instagram at The Average Pundits, on Twitter at Pundits Average. You can email us at theaveragepundits@outlook.com. We've got us on Facebook as well. You can come and communicate to us on our Facebook page, The Average Pundits on Facebook.
Our individual Twitters as well. We will always link them in the bios of in the link in the description. To the Twitters, the Instagram, our individual Twitters as well. So please come along and chat to us about anything that you want related to the Average Pundits. Whether you want to come on the show, that would be phenomenal if you do. We're always looking for fans to come along and actually help us with the podcast.
Yeah,
and give an insight into the fans.
Always looking for people to come and get involved. But guys, thank you very much for listening. We will be back with you very soon. Enjoy your week of football and goodbye.